Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Phases of Growth podcast. Today, we're going to talk about how trauma gets stored in the body and some things that I've been dealing with recently with my own trauma and ways that I work towards clearing and healing and processing trauma. So, probably many of you have heard about the book by Bessel van der Kolk, which is The Body Keeps Score. And that is so incredibly true. Exposure to trauma can have profound impacts on your physical body, not just on your emotions, not just on the way that you perceive the world and all of that. But studies have shown that trauma will influence, especially repeated chronic trauma, will influence your brain structures, your executive functioning, your nervous system, your stress hormones will that is gets activated whenever you're in a experiencing a traumatic event or even something that reminds you of a traumatic event. Your body gets flooded with stress hormones, which then just wreaks havoc on your immune system, your organs, all of that. So there's been a lot of studies done on this topic. Definitely, if you've never read the book, The Body Keeps Score, I would highly encourage you if this is something that you're interested in, or if you're somebody who's experienced a lot of trauma, it can be very helpful to just put it into perspective and to also um, understand different ways that you can work through trauma. One study that has always stuck with me ever since I learned about it is the ACE study, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences. I believe this study was done in like the 1990s. Don't quote me on that exactly. But it wasn't a study that had originally set out to be an examination of, health impacts of trauma, but that's what it morphed into. And basically, what the researchers had found was that the more adverse childhood experiences a person had in their life, the more likely in adulthood they were to have chronic diseases like cancer, heart disease, things like that. What the study was looking at was like across settings, people who experienced high ACE scores, is what they call it, and ended up having these chronic diseases. And it was not because of smoking or drinking or drug use or anything like that. It was literally this was the factor that they had in their life was they had a lot of adverse childhood experiences. So again, there's a lot of studies, a lot of research out there that prove that mind and body and are connected, that stress is obviously very bad for the body, and trauma can have a profound impact on the way our body responds and reacts to stress. So this week, so I'm going to kind of share with you what's been happening with me. This week, I have been having the worst back pain. And it's not like I hurt my back. It's not like I pulled it or anything like that. It's not like I've been doing anything out of the norm. I've just been waking up in like really, really terrible back pain. And so, my first thought was, well, maybe it's the bed. So we flipped the bed and that really didn't help. So I'm using all of my normal tools. I'm doing yoga, I'm doing Reiki, I'm taking hot showers, I'm putting ice on my back, I'm doing all of the things and nothing's happening. And so when I'm experiencing a physical ailment like that, I often turn to Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life. And I this book speaks to me in a lot of different ways, but it talks about how like our belief and thought patterns influence our energetic patterns, which can create disease in the body. So that is definitely my belief system that, you know, thoughts plus feelings plus behaviors equals vibration, and vibration equals the reality that you are manifesting. And so, you know, the way that we think and believe can influence different health things. And that might be controversial for a lot of people, and that's okay if that doesn't speak to you. I totally understand that. Um, but a lot of times when I'm having a specific physical issue, I turn to this book and it has different affirmations for different things. And when I take a couple of days and I'm saying those affirmations and I'm working on clearing energy, a lot of times I start feeling better. And so for lower back pain, it's about not feeling supported. And I knew that because this is something I've had in the past. And a lot of times, the not feeling supported is financial for me. Like, I feel like I'm struggling with income. I don't have enough to pay my bills. So then my back starts hurting. And that has been the case for a while. But I'm in a different financial situation now. You know, things have finally kind of turned around. And so I was like, it's not bad this time. So I took some time and I tuned in to the back pain, like literally took some deep breaths, like imagining the breath coming in and out of my back. And then I just tuned in and was like, are there any parts here that are associated with this back pain? And immediately I got the image of a little version of me. And it was this little girl saying she was just scared of everything. And so I did my parts work with her. I kind of understood where she was coming from, some of the fears she was having, and did some things to connect her with my higher self, and then helped her to unburden so that she's no longer holding on to this huge burden of fear, basically. So it was like, okay, well, hopefully that's it. Well, it wasn't it. It wasn't the only thing. It was like one of the parts that was associated with that. So the next day, I wake up, I'm still in excruciating back pain. So I do the same thing. I tune in again. And when I tune in this time, I'm starting to be kind of flooded with memories of car accidents. So I've had, I think, 4 different car accidents in my life. None of them were major, but my last one that I had, I was rear-ended, and I did experience significant back pain after that car accident. And that was the first memory that popped up. And I was like, oh, this back pain feels a lot like I did when I had that car accident. And so I'm like, immediately, I'm like, there it is. The body keeps score. Like the body's reminding me of this car accident. And you might be like, okay, why is it coming up now? So again, doing some tuning in, trying to figure things out. So I think it's coming up for a couple of reasons. First, as I'm recording this, we are it's a full moon, the lunar eclipse energy, and this is a time where like a lot of things are being brought to the surface for people to heal and to clear energetically. So I think that's part of the reason that it started coming up for me this week. The other reason is that I'm in a situation where I have to do what I would say is scary highway driving twice a day. So I live in a big city. I was somebody who did not grow up in a big city. I grew up in a very small town, very small city. And I'm not particularly fond or used to big city driving. So I have to, on the trips that I have to go on back and forth, there's like 4 different like highways that I have to merge onto in just like one trip. And every single time I have to merge onto a highway, there's not, I shouldn't say every single time, but a lot of times there's always people in the right lane not getting over when they very well could get over. And so it's like, it's scary. And so what I noticed is that like every single time I'm getting ready to merge, my back is tensing because I'm nervous about being able to get into the proper lane. Like there's been times where I've almost gone into an accident. There was a time recently where I literally had to get off onto another exit and got lost because I didn't know where I was. And because I couldn't merge, I couldn't get over because there was just like this wall of traffic. So that realization was like, okay, this is part of why it's coming up now, is because I'm in a situation where it's scary and there's parts of me that are afraid of getting into a car accident, and it happens, twice a day basically. um so I've been spending the last couple of days doing a lot of meditating and clearing and trying to connect with those parts, helping them to unburden. As I'm driving, I'm doing a lot of calming breaths, trying to relax my body, trying to even like, it's like kind of an automatic response. So I can't necessarily control in the moment as I'm trying to merge that my back gets tense. But afterwards, I'm immediately taking some deep breaths in and out of that space. I'm doing bilateral stimulation. Um, so if you don't know, bilateral stimulation is basically you're activating your brain from the right to the left, back and forth, back and forth. This is from EMDR, which is a trauma therapy that I'm trained in. And that is something that helps kind of regulate your nervous system. So I'm doing it just on my steering wheel, just kind of tapping my hands back and forth as I'm driving to just trying to help my nervous system settle while I'm taking deep breaths. I also am trying to do some somatic practices of like taking my attention away from the tenseness of my back and just like feeling very grounded in my seat, noticing my feet, noticing my hands on the steering wheel. So I'm just kind of bringing my energy and my attention to different places in my body so that it's disrupting the signal from the pain in my back to um dif- to different parts of my body. So, and then I've been just doing a lot of energetic work with my parts and especially in the Akashic records. I recorded a guided meditation, which I think was very powerful. And it's a guided meditation in the Akashic records that helps to clear trauma out of the body. It's with connecting with crystal energy, connecting with spiritual guides energy, and also the energy of eternal love and infinite light. So that will be up on YouTube here shortly. So if you don't follow me, please check the show notes for my YouTube channel. It's Phases of Growth at YouTube. So you can definitely follow me over there for access to all of my different guided energy meditations. Um, but each morning, it's this week, it's getting better because I can just feel the layers clearing. But then I go and drive and it gets tense again. So I'm still in the middle of figuring it out. I'm not saying I have it completely figured out perfectly. There's still more parts of me that I need to work with, like the parts that um are anxious about driving. Like I need to work with those parts more in general. But I just wanted to share that with you. Like, if there's something happening in your body, obviously get the proper medical care, talk to doctors, figure out what's going on at a physical level. But I think it's really important to look at beyond the physical level and to look at what's happening at an energetic, emotional, spiritual level because we are so much more than just physical beings. And our emotions play a role in the way that we physically feel, right? Like, think about when you're experiencing anxiety. So I said, like, for this driving experience, I'm tensing my back, but a lot of times when I'm experiencing anxiety, I feel it physically in my chest or my stomach, right? So it's like that is an emotional response that I'm having a physical experience with. It's all interconnected. So it's like if we only pay attention to maybe the physical causes of things that we're experiencing, then we are missing out on deeper levels of healing. Another thing I want to share with you is I had a session this week with somebody who she had an ear infection and she was just telling me about that. And I remembered how I call it my past life. It is this life, but it's like my past life when I was married to somebody else. I was in a very different situation. I was constantly getting ear infections. And what I discovered about that was like I was not listening to spiritual guidance. Spiritual guidance was telling me you need to make changes to your life. You need to get healthier. You need to exercise. You need to eat better. And truthfully, you need to leave this relationship. And I was stubborn and I was not listening. And I just kept going forward. And I kept getting these ear infections all the time. Since 2021, when I completely changed my life, I have not had a single ear infection. And I'm telling you, like I would get them like every couple of months. And now in the past 4 years, I haven't had a single one. And just her talk, and I'm not saying that she got an ear infection because she's not listening to something. Maybe my client isn't, but I don't know that for sure. But just her saying like she had an ear infection just reminded me of like, oh my God, it's been like 4 years since I've had an ear infection, and I used to have them all the time. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I know this is probably a little bit of a shorter episode, but I'm I think it's important, like I said, to look at our experiences not just through one lens, so not just through the physical lens, but look at it through the emotional, spiritual, mental lens of how our minds, our bodies, our souls are all interacting, how they all influence each other, how emotional experiences get stored in the body, and the different ways that we can to work through these things, right? Like I'm choosing to take a holistic approach to this back pain. So I'm taking the holistic approach of I am doing physical things to try to ease the back pain. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing heating pads. I'm doing ice. I'm doing then the emotional and energetic work as well. I'm I'm meditating, I'm doing Reiki, I'm working with my parts, I'm working the Akashic records to try to clear the energy. And then I'm doing the work in the moment when it's getting triggered and activated by trying to calm my nervous system, calm my body. So it's like I have to take a multi-pronged approach to this healing. And I just wanted to share that with all of you because I think it's really important that we all think about, okay, is there something I've been struggling with? How can I how can I approach this from many different layers so that I have deeper healing? Okay. So, let me know what you think and I will talk to you guys again very soon. Bye.